Zrhorner, a reporter and anchor at our local NBC affiliate, WNDU. Zach, I'm so glad you're with us this morning. We had the university's president on this show a few months ago. He was confident they'd be ready to welcome students back in August. Here we are in August. He's now calling this virus a formidable foe. It's been around for months, so why now? Why a week into the school year and not before?
Well, Holly, that's right. Father John Jenkins, president of the university, coming out yesterday and deciding to go to 2 weeks of virtual learning. And here is the reason for that. It's simply the rise in cases of COVID-19 right here on the campus of the University of Notre Dame. Now, the university has been trying to get a handle on this from the get-go. Classes just starting last week on Monday. What I learned is the university is speaking out and saying there's been some confusion with regard to the testing process for students on campus. And they're also speaking out about campus safety and some of the practices students are doing on campus need to be carried off campus when students leave. It's on this land right here in LaGrange County that one family is looking to expand their business, and that business is breeding dogs. They say they're doing everything on the up and up, but despite that, people that live around here, some aren't happy about it. The chief of police, as well as the mayor and other community members, speaking out earlier today following the tragic death of that 7-year-old girl. Now, this press conference I was at earlier today, masks are required here on campus. I have mine off right now as I'm able to social distance from everybody outside. But thousands of people have made their way here for the first day of classes here at Notre Dame. But could those thousands of students mean thousands of extra potential for COVID-19? First off, here at WNDU, we want to make it very clear we take issues surrounding child abuse seriously. But today we want to tell you about the Save the Children and Save Our Children movements that are tied to a conspiracy group, QAnon. And they have a strong social media presence, but are the members of that group doing more harm than good? As the coronavirus pandemic rolls on, you've seen plenty of examples right here in Michiana of communities coming together to help each other out. And today, downtown South Bend paired with the Knights of Columbus to give those first responders a very special meal. Libby's grandfather tells me he's remaining hopeful that police will find the killer in this case. And the city of Delphi, with signs like these posted all around town, also holding out hope that the murderer will be brought to justice.
Today, a new electric vehicle startup in Michiana is now a publicly traded company, and they'll be based out of the old Hummer plant in Mishawaka. 16 News Now reporter Zach Corners live outside Electric Last Mile Solutions. And Zach, you spoke with the owner earlier today. When is manufacturing going to start?
Well, Lauren, they expect to start manufacturing in September, and the owner of this company says they're excited to bring some of the latest technology to the Michiana area, and they're doing it from a building that has a long history right here in Mishawaka. You could say that the energy is electric here at Electric Last Mile Solutions, or ELMS as they call it.
What's exciting today is the grand reopening of this plant. It's had a storied past going back 20 years.
This company isn't going in reverse, but is focused on bringing the latest technology to Michiana.
Well, it's the time.
The CEO of the company, Jim Taylor, says these electric vans are for short distances.
The range will be about 150 miles, but the actual duty cycle for these kinds of vehicles is more like 40 to 60 miles.
And they say they're ahead of the game and say these vans have a variety of uses, from deliveries to company work vans.
There are no competitors in that space. There are no other announced electric vehicles coming to that area, so we'll be the only player as we launch this fall from the plant, and that'll allow us to be first mover and gain immediate market share as we launch the vehicle.
On Monday, ELMS got listed on the NASDAQ as a publicly traded company and just bought the building late last week. It's quiet in here for now, but production on these vans will start in September, making up to 20,000 for the first year, but up to 80,000 vans in a few years. That will create around 100 jobs. Now, Taylor is no stranger to this building, having worked with Hummer before. And now making these electric vans in the former Hummer plant could be a bit shocking.
Well, it's going to be, I'd say, slightly emotional. Brian and I have been through the ups and downs of this plant literally for 20 years. We remember when it was rocking and full out 2.5 shifts and making tens of thousands of Hummers, and then, went quiet. And so watching this whole plant be operating again, conveyors rolling, vehicles going out the back door will be a great day.
And I'm told the van that you saw in the story there that goes for about $32,000, you get about $7,000 off of that with an electric vehicle tax credit. And once these go into production in September, then they will be available for purchase. Lauren, back to you.
All right, Zach Corner live for us in Mishawaka. Zach, thank you.
New information, a Mishawaka apartment complex is still without power after a month. And now those who live at Cam's Island Apartments say they have no way to contact property managers.
16 News Now reporter Zach Corners live in Mishawaka with those details. So Zach, what did you find out?
Well, Lauren and Terry, right now I'm at Buter Park and you can see the sun is shining. It's a beautiful day. Everything's wonderful out here, but about a half mile that way at Cam's Island Apartments, everything is everything but wonderful. Residents there are still without power and they can't get in contact with the owner or property managers.
At least get some response out of them, because if we got any maintenance problems, there's no contact person to reach out to.
Dan Kiefer lives at the St. Joseph Court Apartments and says his apartments are managed by the same property managers as Cam's Island Apartments, where electricity has been out for a month.
Hell. You've heard descriptions of hell. This is it. We can't cook. We can't bathe. We can't clean.
So what's the problem? Why is the power still out? Well, right now I'm at the Cam's Island Apartments, and this is the office where the property managers should be right now. In fact, it says they should be keeping office hours. Let's see if we can get in contact with them. And you see, there was no answer, and it's the same thing if you try to call as well.
The number you have reached has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
A resident provided me this business card for the property managers. That address is the office at Cam's Island Apartments, but no owners or managers to be found.
They don't care. They don't care.
Residents at Cam's did receive some contact. However, it's rather unwelcome news. An eviction notice saying they have to be out by July 2nd. The city of Mishawaka says they've done everything they can to get power restored. It's now up to the property owners to fix the building before the power can be switched back on. They have until next week to do that, or else the city can step in and issue fines for code violations. Residents who live at these properties want answers. Dan Kiefer says they haven't even cashed his last rent check with no explanation.
They're giving the appearance, the company, whatever, that they're slumlords. There's been issues going on here for the longest time they don't want to address.
And tenants at Cam's remain left in the dark.
I just don't want this to happen to anybody else. This can't happen to anybody else.
You know, the pandemic has been difficult on all of us, but none more than those who've been on the front lines in our hospitals.
16 News Now reporter Zach Corner joins us live from the newsroom. And Zach, how are local healthcare providers doing?
Well, Terry and Lauren, seeing people suffering and losing their lives almost daily has taken its toll. Nurses and doctors I spoke with say this pandemic will not only have an impact on them as individuals, but on the healthcare industry for the foreseeable future.
Heartbreaking at times.
Seeing tragedy firsthand as COVID patients struggle to survive, and some don't make it.
The most challenging thing, I think, initially was, is seeing some of these patients who hadn't seen their families for months and months, and the families still can't visit, and they're hanging on your every word on the phone, crying every day.
It was just too hard and too much for many. Have you seen a lot of staff leave?
Yes, we've had a lot of staff transition to other areas in nursing that are less stressful. We've had nurses leave nursing altogether.
That trend is likely to continue. A Washington Post Kaiser Family Foundation poll from this spring found that 3 out of 10 healthcare workers have considered quitting because of COVID-19. And the International Council of Nurses projects a global shortfall of 10 million nurses by 2030. They say COVID-19 could take that number to 14 million. Burnout is a big problem. In a pandemic filled with negatives, there is one bright spot. How do you think the whole thing is going to affect the healthcare industry going forward? What's that going to be like?
I want to say that I think that we're going to be more prepared in the future.
I think our healthcare industry has learned a lot on how to respond to global pandemics, and also hopefully to realize to take them a lot more seriously. There are 7 billion people on the planet, and this may just be the dry run. The next one could be Ebola. It's hard to say.
We have just become more resilient as a community.
Healthcare workers will need that resiliency as COVID-19 is likely to stick around for a while as more cases continue around the country. Mask wearing, social distancing, strict sanitation practices all likely to continue.
This is something that won't easily go away.
One of the unfortunate lasting impacts on the healthcare industry will be the memories, the sadness, and the trauma.
I think we've realized that we have strength that we didn't know we had. And now that there's been an uptick again of patients, I know inside I'm feeling like I can't do this again. I can't go through this, but as a team, we can do it together.
Growing in emotional strength, but holding memories that won't easily fade.
There's always going to be that in your field of people dying, but it's just, this is kind of a unique situation, I feel like. How do you move forward from that?
Well, one day at a time. It's not going to go away, but I think that knowing that we got to play a role in people's lives, that's enough for me. That's enough to know that I made a difference in the community that I work for, and I take a lot of pride in that.
And our hospitals continue to serve Michiana despite the stress and staffing shortages. They say it's a higher calling. Saving lives is their passion, and there will be plenty more to be saved in the future. In the newsroom, I'm Zach Horner, 16 News Now.
Information: a bar in downtown Mishawaka will be shutting its doors for good. Smith's Downtown says after several battles with the city, they're throwing in the towel. 16 News Now reporter Zach Horner is live in downtown Mishawaka. And Zach, you spoke with the owner earlier today. What do you have to say?
Well, Terry, he says these issues started about 5 years ago. They were having capacity issues when they were putting on concerts here at Smith's Downtown, and they couldn't let everybody in, so people would just kind of pour out onto the sidewalk here, causing problems, and police had to respond. But it was an incident last year, a shooting, in fact, that caused the city to want to go after the liquor license for this bar, and they succeeded. And now the owner says it's time to move on.
The city's never stepped forward and said we have any issue or wanted to talk to me about any problems, because every time that we've gone for our liquor license renewal, they said, nope, no problems with Smith's.
And as of this month, that all changed.
They just notified my attorney that they were going to protest our license and things of that nature, and the city's never approached us about any of these problems.
So what exactly changed? A shooting last year in a nearby parking lot moved the city of Mishawaka to take a shot at the bar's liquor license. The owner says the city tried to associate that shooting to Smith's.
We had issues with people hanging out in the parking lot and just drinking, doing whatever, just because it's a community parking lot. A lot of people that were out there probably that weren't even from Smith's.
The owner says this battle has been brewing since around 5 years ago.
We had a lot of big shows here with promoters that would just, I guess our venue was a little small for the events they were having. So we'd have to cut the door, and then there'd be issues outside because there'd be a mob of people wanting to get in that we couldn't let in.
But they beat Mishawaka on that issue, and Ryan Smith feels the city had it out for him, waiting for an excuse to go after their liquor license.
Because they got beat 5 years ago. The whole thing is that we made them look bad.
Now he says with no liquor license, it's time to shut down. He sold the building and is moving on after 10 years. A major venue for local music will now sit silent.
When you've done so much for a town and a community and, things of that nature, it's just, that's what I'm going to miss the most, is the people.
Now he says there's only one way to go, and that's out.
Thank you for all the years of patronage. We're still open for a couple weeks and have a couple shows left. So we're hoping you come out and support, even though we don't have booze. We're still pushing out our good food for the next couple weeks.
And I did reach out to the mayor's office and have not yet heard back from them. But if you want to own a piece of Smith's downtown history, they'll be auctioning off pretty much everything inside on June 25th. You can show up right here at 3 o'clock. But for now, they will be closing down. Terry, back to you.
All right, Zach Horner reporting live tonight from downtown Mishawaka. Zach, thanks. Right now, police information. A Benton Harbor man is free from prison after serving nearly 16 years for a crime he says he did not commit.
Wow, 16 News Now reporter Zach Horner joins us live in the studio. And Zach, we heard from Corey McCall today after his release. So what is he saying tonight?
Well, Lauren and Terry, he says, of course, he's happy to be out of prison after years behind bars, but it was a daily struggle to stay positive. And it was the help of those who never gave up and never doubted his innocence that made him a free man once again.
You can't be angry. You can't hold on to grudges. You got to live and let go and go on with your life.
Corey McCall can now move on after spending nearly 16 years in prison for something he said he had nothing to do with from the start.
Doing time in prison for something you ain't do, it tends to wear on your mind, mess with your psyche, and you have to build yourself up to come back to reality.
He was convicted and sentenced to life for being an accomplice to a 2005 triple murder in Benton Harbor. The victims included a 12-year-old boy who was shot in the head. Here's reaction from our coverage back then.
For somebody to come in there and cold-bloodedly shoot them, that was just heartless and senseless.
And that is true. It was a grisly crime, but Corey McCall had nothing to do with it. The Attorney General's Conviction Integrity Unit discovered new evidence, including the actual gunman admitting McCall was never at the scene of the murder.
Now that that evidence exists, and we know what that evidence is, obviously, it's our job to correct the record.
So correct the record they did. At a Friday morning court hearing in Berrien County, a judge granted McCall his freedom. The Berrien County prosecutor says, "I fully recognize that setting aside the conviction cannot begin to adequately compensate Mr. McCall for what he has lost. Nothing can restore his lost youth or return to him the years he spent in prison." So he walked out of that Ionia, Michigan prison to his family, from behind bars to the loving arms of those who never gave up on him.
They can't get that time back. We can't get that time back. You know, and the only thing now is for them making up time.
A time for new memories, a brighter future, and as a man of few words, his future plans are simple.
Yeah, just to enjoy my family and get my thoughts together.
And when asked what he is most excited to eat now that he's out of prison, Corey actually said he has no appetite at all because of all the excitement. Pretty sure that's going to change here soon. And as you heard him say, he will now focus on his family. Back to you.
All right, Zach, thank you very much.
More and more colleges are also scrambling to figure out how to handle what's becoming, frankly, a chaotic back-to-school season. Look at what's happening at Notre Dame, right? They're now the fourth college or university this week to suddenly suspend classes in person just a week into the semester. I want to go to campus now with zrhorner, a reporter and anchor at our local NBC affiliate, WNDU. Zach, I'm so glad you're with us this morning. We had the university's president on this show a few months ago. He was confident they'd be ready to welcome students back in August. Here we are in August. He's now calling this virus a formidable foe. It's been around for months, so why now? Why a week into the school year and not before?
Well, Holly, that's right. Father John Jenkins, president of the university, coming out yesterday and deciding to go to 2 weeks of virtual learning. And here is the reason for that. It's simply the rise in cases of COVID-19 right here on the campus of the University of Notre Dame. Now, the university has been trying to get a handle on this from the get-go. Classes just starting last week on Monday. And moving to today, we've seen a big spike in cases around the campus. When they first started out in their pre-matriculation process of testing students prior to coming to campus, they saw 33 positive cases. You fast forward to just this past Saturday, they saw 52 cases. And where we're at right now at the university is 147 total cases. So you can see the spread is still happening here, hence why the university has decided to go to 2 weeks of virtual learning. Now, they have social distancing in the classrooms prior to going to the virtual learning. They were encouraging people to practice good sanitation processes, washing their hands, using hand sanitizer, wearing masks around campus, indoors and outdoors when they're not able to adequately social distance. But all of that still seeing that spike in cases right here at the university. So the university also saying that at the end of this 2 weeks, they'll sort of reassess the process and see where they're at. And if the spread continues, they could end up sending all the students home. Hallie, back to you.
So definitely something to watch. WNDU's zrhorner. Zach, thanks for being with us. I appreciate it.
Today, and good news to share. St. Joe County Police K-9 Luna has had a bullet removed from her leg after being shot by a suspect during a manhunt earlier this month.
And we're happy to report she's expected to make a full recovery. 16 News Now reporter zrhorner is live in South Bend. And Zach, you saw her today. How's Luna doing?
Well, the good news is Luna is doing quite well. However, she is ignoring doctor's orders. She's not supposed to be doing any running around, but I'm told she's doing her fair share of chasing cats and various other animals. But really, this is good news when you consider how dangerous and how serious her injuries were.
She was really bleeding profusely, and I think she would have bled out if we didn't get her there quickly.
This right here is one lucky pup. St. Joseph County Police K-9 Luna was shot in the back leg by a suspect during a manhunt on Lilac Road on October 13th.
She's really the true hero that day. She took a lot of eyes off. I think a lot of more police officers would have been injured that day if it wasn't for her.
You see, Luna is a brave breed. Doing her job, she was injured in the line of duty. Since that day, Sergeant Parmalee has been returning the favor, taking care of Luna 24/7 as her leg heals.
It's kind of just been a roller coaster of emotions, trying to get her well, to staying up all night and being with her.
A special connection between an officer and a canine.
I will say that I think it's furthered our bond quite tremendously. I mean, she won't even leave my side for 2 minutes now.
Not even bullets could break the bond between the sergeant and Luna. This week, the final piece on the road to recovery. Veterinary staff at Oak Knoll Veterinary Clinic removed the bullet from Luna's leg.
And the reason why we took it out is because it started migrating. And so we know because it was in her back leg, and with as active as these dogs are, with it moving, we could not have left that bullet in.
That roaming round could have caused problems.
We worry about infection, so anytime a bullet goes in, it takes everything with it, right? So it takes the hair with it, it takes any bacteria with it.
Luna may want a bone, but for now she's stuck in that cone. Her wounds are healing and she's expected to make a full recovery. A happy ending to a story that could have been tragic.
If it would have gotten her femoral arteries, she would have bled out. So she's incredibly lucky at where that bullet went, how it went. Officer Parmalee is incredibly lucky. All the officers that were there that day were incredibly lucky.
And at today's announcement earlier today, Michigan City Police were on hand and they donated $1,000 to assist in Luna's care. And when she's back in action and fully up and going, she'll be back out on the streets. Good news we needed to hear today. Back to you.
Doggone good story there, Zach. Thanks a lot. Tonight we're digging deeper after receiving a tip that a Goshen gas station could be selling watery gas, causing costly car problems.
16 News Now reporter Zach Horner has been looking into the issue. So Zach, what have you been able to find out?
Well, Lauren and Terry, getting gas should be a pretty simple endeavor, but for some people who claim they got gas at this Phillips 66 here behind me in Goshen, they say it's caused a lot of problems. That's the sound you want to hear. Everything running smoothly for this Goshen woman. Everything except this mechanic bill for $464.
Tuesday evening, I went and filled my tank up with gas at the Phillips 66 at Main and Pike in Goshen. And soon after leaving there, my car started to falter.
Little did she know a simple pull up to the pump would lead to a big problem. Her mechanic had some surprising news.
I found that my gas tank was 75% water.
So I went to that Phillips 66 looking for answers. A manager said I would need to reach out to National Oil and Gas, the company where they get their fuel.
He told me they'd never had any problems, and I said, well, you have a problem now.
As I left the gas station, I snapped this picture of a man checking the fuel storage tanks in the back. He works for National Oil and Gas. I spoke to him off camera, and he claimed he saw no issue with the fuel storage tanks. An exhausting issue, and Gina is not the only one.
I've had at least 6 or 7 people that filled up their tanks at the same gas station said that they've had problems in the last few days.
I got in contact with one of those people who provided me with this video right here. Wanting to stay anonymous, this sample allegedly drained from a car that filled up at that Phillips 66. It looks a bit watery. This is what regular gas should look like. I reached out to National Oil and Gas and they provided this reason for water possibly getting into the storage tanks. That thawing snow and ice can make its way into the underground fuel storage tanks when things warm up. But they didn't say that was the exact reason water might have been in this station's fuel storage tanks.
They should at least help me get the reimbursement that I need for my car because out of good faith, I filled my car up with gas, not expecting to have a tank of gas cost $470.
And some good news. I did hear from Gina earlier today, just before this story aired, in fact, and she said the manager here is going to start working with people, possibly monetarily, to be able to reimburse people if they had any damage to their vehicles, but that's something they're still working through. As National Oil has said that the company here this gas station, they're the ones responsible, not National Oil. And you can also file some complaints as well. I'll have information about that. If you want to make a complaint, it'll be on this website, or on this story on our website, WNDU.com. Back to you.
All right, Zach Horner live for us in Goshen. Zach, thank you.